everybody, E here. Welcome back to another book review. Today we're going to do a quickie review of Anthony Burgess's The Clockwork, A Clockwork Orange. I'm going to put the audiobook cover right here because I listened to it in audiobook. It's just funny because everybody tried to tell me, no, E, don't do it. You won't understand a bit of it because the book's written in NADSAT and it's so confusing if you don't know NADSAT. I don't know NADSAT. I didn't have a problem with the book whatsoever. I didn't have any issue figuring out that vidi meant see, malinky meant a little, that rot meant mouth, that rooker meant hand. The context clues there. And I really don't want to offend anybody, but it takes I would imagine it would take a very low, it would only take a really low level of reading comprehension skill to understand what Burgess did in this book. And I think that's why the book is a classic. Other than that, I really don't understand why it's a classic. It's very well written in that he writes in almost a whole other language. It is still English. It is a form of Russian English, which is interesting. I'm not sure how that came about. I would like to look into it. I probably won't, but I would like to look into it. If anybody wants to give me a brief overview of it down there in the comments, I would rather have a conversation with you. I'm not trying to be lazy. I can go Google it all day long. That's how I got all my information for, how it's, Russian based. But I would much rather prefer to have a conversation with someone than to go Google something, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. But this book is written in a slang that is called NADSAT, N-A-D-S-A-T. And it sounds a lot like, what is it, London rhyming slang? It sounds like that. It's not that, because it's not, like a submarine for scene or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it is. From what I understand, you pretty much have to grow up with the people that speak that kind of stuff to understand it. But the book, for me, it really missed the mark as far as the content was concerned. I have been hearing for years and years, I'd never been able to finish the book because I tried to read it and I just got bored. So I finally did the audiobook and, I finally got through it. A note on the audiobook in a minute. If you're going to listen to it, please hang around. I have some issues with the audiobook that you need to hear. But the content of the book is fine. It's nowhere near as disturbing as it was made out to be. People that I spoke to that said that when I said the Wasp Factory wasn't as disturbing as I felt everyone said how disturbing that book was, just didn't disturb me, and I just don't see it. I don't understand what was so disturbing about it. It's no more disturbing than a Richard Lehman novel. And if Richard Lehman novels aren't considered classics, why is this one considered a classic? I don't understand it. It's senseless violence, yes. Is there a tone of redemption? In my version, there is, which brings me to the last part. This is an extended version. I listened to the extended version of the book. It has 22 chapters instead of 21 chapters. And it's because they Americanized the book and cut off, I guess you'd call it the happy ending. That's all I'm going to tell you there. But with the audiobook also, if you're worried about spoilers, I do not suggest you do the audiobook that is available right now. The reason I'm saying that is because the file for the forward and chapter 1, they are not split. They are one chapter. So the only way to start the book is to listen to the forward and listen to all the way to the end, and then chapter 1 starts. You can't skip ahead, because if you skip ahead, you go to chapter 2 in the book. So the problem with this is there are spoilers for the end of the book, actual content about what happens at the end of the book in the forward. I don't know who at the publisher decided this was a good idea. It's stupid. And it needs to be changed. I understand that that there are spoilers in the forwards of classics all the time, but if it was written down, I'd be able to skip it. If it was a separate file, I'd be able to skip it. But the only way I could have skipped it this time is if I had continuously fast-forwarded through the thing and hopefully hit the point where the book actually started, because I had no context for when chapter 1 begins. So if I missed the point where he says chapter 1, I mean the narrators don't change or anything for that forward and that chapter 1. It was extremely upsetting. I was pissed off because I had waited this long to actually experience the book, and I'd never even seen the movie all the way through. The movie bored me too. But yeah, I don't like Kubrick, so it was more Kubrick's fault than my, well, yeah, it's my fault too, because I just don't like Kubrick, but it was more because of Kubrick is why I didn't like the film. I just can't stand his aesthetic. I can't stand his sound effects. I can't stand him as a director. But the book, like I said, the content isn't any. If someone tells you it's the most disturbing book they've ever read, they probably haven't read too many disturbing books. So I would take that with a grain of salt and move on. But another thing with the audiobook, the final thing I want to say is, for some odd reason, the book starts all the way over again with the author reading the first 4 chapters at the end of the audiobook. So it says, and now Anthony Burgess reads the first 4 chapters of his book, A Clockwork Orange. I listened to it. I don't see any reason for it. I actually think that the narrator that they got to do the book did a better job than Burgess. It's whatever. But yeah, let's talk about the Clockwork Orange down there. But let's also talk about whether or not you guys, how you feel about spoilers in a forward in an audiobook that you can't skip. Because there were some people on Twitter that were like, "Hey, dude, this is common practice," and I understand that. But if it had been written or this file split, I wouldn't have a problem, because I could have skipped it. But how do you feel about, even if it's classics, how do you feel about spoilers at the beginning of a book? If anywhere, shouldn't they be in the afterword? Let's discuss that down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you, this has been another book review. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!